This might just be a repeat of what's been said already, but said in a different way. And I think that with the lawyers' research on the Baltic states, and with the gentleman that just spoke about, you know, Hawaii being the all-American nation or the all-Hawaiian nation as a multicultural state, I think that would hamper your very goals. I think you have to really express a Hawaiian Kanaka Maoli nation state as a culture that any citizens that were derived prior to 1993 from the original monarchy or the Hawaiian Kingdom government at that time would have to realize that they have to be on the side of the sovereignty of the Hawaiian Polynesian Kanaka Maoli. And in the meantime, with the tens of thousands of Hawaiians here that we have in California, I think, yes, we should have schools, you know, charter schools. You have King Kamehameha schools funded by their system in the Hawaiian Islands. I believe it's from the estate of the Queen Liliuokalani. We could have Queen Liliuokalani schools with an emphasis on the sovereignty of the women of this planet, Mother Earth. It's about time that we men understand that. Thank you.
Thank you. It was Pauahi, the great-granddaughter of Kamehameha, that left the legacy for Kamehameha. And it would be interesting if they built their next campus in California. It would.
Hawaii first. Just one question up here.
I'm taking a very neutral standpoint for this question. May or may not be a silly question. Right here. Do larger countries, you know, such as the U.S., have any kind of incentive not to invade and occupy these, you know, non-self-governing territories and come in there and decolonize them? Is there any incentive other than, you know, you've mentioned moral incentive, human rights?
How about respect for law, actually? I mean, if you don't, then it is military power. And that's okay as long as you're the toughest, you know, country on the block. But it's even not okay if other countries are doing that to each other, because eventually it draws you in. So actually a respect for law and a respect for sort of that order that law conveys is probably a good thing even for strong countries like the United States.
Could I add on to that? I don't know, I guess, well, my intuitive answer, the first answer, is just the perception of, I think it's in the United States' self-interest that it's perceived as a legitimate democracy. I think that's an important goal. If it wasn't, then all that discourse would stop, like it's going into Iraq because of X, Y, and Z. We all heard the story. But if that was the case, I mean, it basically hinders their ability to purport them to sort of pass as democratically legitimate states in the international community. So I think that's an important self-interest. I mean, even if an enlightened self-interest. I guess that's, you know, makes sense.
And along the lines of what Julian was just saying is that, especially if there's a legislature put together from this voting base that could trace their ancestry to before the occupation began, that would provide a huge detriment for the U.S. in terms of international relations, in terms of economic agreements that it's trying to make with, say, China. It would be a large embarrassment, to say the least. But even more so, it would uncover this aspect of U.S. history that was shoved under the rug, and so that can have not only symbolic but also economic and also realist policy issues that arise from that.
I actually would like to add one other thing.
Oh, sorry.
No. I just thought that. But this whole idea of, like, the question almost presumes that you can contract out of human rights activity. And basically, I didn't make this point as firmly as I needed to before. Self-determination is part of a very selective, discrete class of rights that's considered of jus cogens status. Basically, that's just another fancy way of saying strong or commanding law. Under international law, self-determination and these peremptory norms, or jus cogens norms, they're norms from which no state, no international actor is permitted to derogate under any circumstances. So although international law, in many other circumstances, always seems to bend to or acquiesce to illegality, not so when self-determination is implicated, because it is such a highly esteemed right under international law.
Universal human.
Yeah. That's enshrined in virtually all the important documents, including the 1966 Human Rights Covenants. They go by the names of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights and the International Covenant on Cultural, Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights.
Question over here.